Groove Builders, welcome back to the Workbench and part 5 of the Metal Earth, Mars Rover, Perseverance, and Ingenuity helicopter. If you're building along with me today, we're going to be building with parts 73 through 89. As you can already see, we already have a couple of assemblies here already done from our previous videos, and those have been quite detail-oriented. How will these ones fare? Well, that's a great question. Let's go ahead and get started with part 73. The first thing we need to do is grab this little guy right here. It blends in really well with my desk here. Now, pulling this right up, looks like the first thing we need to do is actually bend this over. So let me just figure out exactly how we're going to be dealing with it. I think it's like this. Yep. And this gets bent down like so. Go the other side here, and we're going to meet the edge just like that. Now, if you look a little closely here, you can see that we have a little bit of a bend. So what I'm going to do is actually use my more detail-oriented tweezers, and I'm going to try to bend the metal ever so slightly there. There we go. Matching the border best we can. Excellent. That looks great. Now that we have this little bit of detail, let's go ahead and just put this down right here. Eventually, we're gonna be taking this detail and placing it on here, but let's form the first little bits first, and then we'll put them all on their place, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is grab part 74. Part 74. First thing we're gonna do is just take this little guy right here and bend her right in half. Same thing with the other side, going right to the edge, bending her right in half. Now we take this little guy here, connect it, and you can see that we have a little bit of a bend here at the top. So I'm gonna actually do a little bit of work right now while we have the room. I really don't want a hot spot, so I'm trying to work it. That's why I'm using multiple bends. See, not really a hot spot there, no creases, just a really nice shaping. Now we're gonna do this. That one wall got collapsed, and I knew it was going to. So what we're gonna do, grab our detail tweezers here. We're gonna try to unflatten this. That's what happens when you're squeezing too hard. Correct this little bit of detail right there. Bring her in, bring her up, right about there. Don't wanna break the piece though, be careful with that. There we go. All right, put that guy down. There we go. Put him into the shaped pile. Now we're gonna move on to part 75. These ones kind of get more and more interesting as we go. They definitely have some unique bends that we need to be able to do here. So let's go ahead and do this one. Sometimes if you need to figure out exactly where to get started, you can look on the back here and see where the dotted line is, and then kind of go from there. So we know that this part right here, for instance, needs to be bent, so we're gonna do this. There we go. Take this little bit of detail, bend it down too. And this detail here gets bent around like this. And then it goes flat right here. And then this little tab here gets bent down 90 degrees. There we go. Cool. Actually, I think this piece here gets bent in too. There we go. Whoopsie. Oh, I just took it out by the way I did my tweezers there. Pushed her in place. There we go. Looking good. Now that we got those two guys done, we can get our last little piece here before we try to put everything into place. And that's part 76. 76 is actually pretty simple. It's actually just bending the border pieces pretty much all the way around. So let's grab one side here. Boom. Grab the other side. There we go. And there should be little borders here, which I don't see. There we go. Okay. Now that we got all this little detail formed, we can place it onto our majestic back piece, part 69. Now, let's go ahead and orientate this to the proper perspective. So that's just like these. See? And now what we're gonna do is grab part 73. That was that little guy right here. Part 73 goes here in this lower left corner. There we go. Now we're gonna go ahead and just kind of give ourselves a couple of twists here. 1, 2, and this one we're gonna do the opposite way. Nice and secure. I like it. Now we can add our next little bit of detail on here, which goes just... Oh, look at that magic. The pieces are right in the right spot. Now I'm trying to place part bloody 60 or 74 in its spot. We have 2 tabs in place. We just need to get this last little guy here in spot. There we go. Boom. Great. Now I can take this, twist, twist, and twist. Cool. All nice and secured. We're actually gonna go back afterwards with my tweezers and just kind of fix up that detail to make it look even nicer than it does right now. All right, now let's grab the next little piece. This was 76. This is that little triangle piece here. Let's see if we can find its home. You know what? Let's just see if we can do it like this. I got one. Oh. If I get one tab in, I'm pretty sure I can get both in. Okay, and now we're gonna take this and let me see here. Why can't I get, there we go. Got him. Got him. All right, nice. That actually looks really good, especially on there with how it's set. Now let's grab the next little dude here. I wonder if we're gonna have any overlapping problems like we did with the head. Oh, nope, that actually went in really easily. Cool. Now that we've got that little bit of detail done, we can move on to the next little area here, which is part 77. Part 77 is a nice little box. This box is actually pretty easy to form. You can see that we really only have a little bit of an arc to follow. So let's grab this back piece here. Bring that in right nice and 90. And we're gonna take this little guy here. We're gonna start following the edges. Okay. Looks about right. Take this, bend it down, and you can tell that it has a little bit of a fold in, so we got to do one of these little things here. Bring it in. I tried to pre-bend that little area there so it would fit in really nice, but looks like I didn't either bend it enough or it's kind of fighting back a little bit. Okay, that looks like a pretty good box to me. We might have to go back through this one and form it a little bit more, but for right now, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's place it right down here. We can grab the next little bit. This one here, the only thing we're going to be doing here is just bending these tabs at the top. We need to bend these guys down 90 degrees, being careful not to accidentally warp the part on either side. Because we're dealing with such little metal here, it's actually a lot easier to do than you might think. There we go. And now we can take this guy here. We're gonna bend him out of the way. Take that. Now, if you don't grab as much of the tab in your tweezers as possible, if you leave a little tiny bit over, you will have a hard time getting your tabs in place. I think I may have done that here with this one tab. We're gonna find out a little bit later. This one here doesn't look like it's bent enough. I should have maybe used my bender tool, to be honest with you, to help me out with this. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to bend this all the way around. And yes, I'm using my multiple bend method again. I find this is actually to be a really accurate way of getting a good shaping. It does take a little bit of time to break that, to get that skill up a little bit, but once you do, you can really pull off some nice shapings. There's some really good builders out there that are able to do this with very little, minimal tools. Thinking right off the top of my head, Metal Earth Globetrotter is a really great builder. If you haven't checked out his Instagram account, I definitely recommend you do it. He's actually building this alongside me right now. Total coincidence, of course, but his pictures that he's been posting on his Instagram look fantastic. So again, highly recommend checking out his account to see some other cool Metal Earth stuff. Now, let's go ahead and place this little bit of detail in place, starting with that little part 77 that we did from before. Part 77 here goes on the back, like this. Awesome. And we're gonna take it like this, and we are going to twist, and we're gonna take this, and we're gonna twist, and we're gonna take this, and we're going to twist. Boom. Really nice and secure. Very easy to do too. Now we're going to grab this little guy here. This one goes right to the left of the other detail that we've placed on before. If you know me, I always like to place my detail closest to the other detail that we're going to be attaching on first. I just find that if I'm going to be struggling with something, if I get that tab in first, then I know that we're good. And the other one is easier for me to grab, and I can manipulate and place it into the proper spot. Now, we've gone ahead and placed this little area down here into the proper spot. So let's secure this so we know that this is not going to move. And I am pressing a little bit harder to make sure that I get as much of the tab as possible into my securement tool. Now we're going to negotiate all of the other ones into place. I think that is our best move. Actually, they might not, they actually don't have spots. They sit just like that. So that actually looks really good the way it does. I'm pretty happy with how that looks right now. We might have to go through and slightly move it just like this. I'm really surprised that there's not another place to place this, but you know, that I guess that's just the way it is. Okay, now that we place these two little guys back on top and I've let my doggy in, we can go ahead and move on to part 79. Oh yes, I'm speaking about you. You can sigh all you want to back there. I'm surprised GB1 didn't take you for a little bit of a walkie earlier. Take it down like this. With this one here, again, it's very important to make sure that we go as 90 degrees as possible with all of these pieces. We don't want any warping. And if you use the side of your tweezers like I'm right now, it's a really good way of doing that. Alternatively, we can use our bender tool. Now, I got a little bit of an email earlier asking how I can make these, how can I get my pieces from, prevent my pieces from slide, blah, blah. How can I prevent my pieces from sliding around? Well, let's take a look at this together. So this is the Bender 1.0 tool. Now you'll notice this head here has changed a couple of times. I've kind of tried to revise this a little bit. I've been having some issues with my printers as well. So anyway, the point is that as you can see, this little guy here moves around, and depending on what you're looking to shape is where you can move this to. So in this case here, we have a pretty small part that we're trying to form, and we want to get these up as 90 degrees as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it into a spot like, we're going to take it into a spot just kind of, let's see here. I think this is a good one to start with. See, the issue is sometimes that these little pieces here can kind of get in the way, which is a problem. So what we have to do is we have to look for a spot that has an area that we can lift it up and that won't get in the way. So I think right here is good. And what you want to do is kind of line it up to the edge, just like this, okay? Now notice the part of the wedge that I'm using. I'm not using this part over here, I'm using the thicker part. I'm gonna just crank this down a little bit until it can't be moved. Now that piece is on there, I'm gonna grab my tweezers and I'm gonna go right here and I'm gonna lift, just like that. And that lifting action should bend that part into the shape that we want, just like that. Now we can take this up. Again, we take this corner here, we take it up, we're gonna press it into our tool, And just like that, we get a nice little bend. Now, one encounter I'm actually having an issue with when it comes to this tool is that this little pushy pad here can be a little bit too pushy at times, and I completely agree with that kind of criticism. One of the things that I was looking for when I was making my Bender 1.0 tool was to try to find a good mix between a spongy surface and a strong surface, because realistically, you kind of need both for different times. And I wanted the Bender 1.0 tool to be kind of more than just one tool. I wanted you to be able to take things like, you know, a cake decorating tool for those cylinders and use it as a pressing into, so you could use it as a surface you could press into to get those kinds of details. If I made a harder surface, you wouldn't be able to do that. So for instance, if we flipped it around here, you wouldn't be able to do that. Now, that being said, one thing you might want to know is if you take this apart right here, you can actually flip this around and place it into place back here. Doing so, though, you will lose this little spring power because the spring goes into that little area here. And I am thinking about putting that area on the bottom as well in the next little upgrade. And what that will do, it will allow you to have the hard surface you need it when you need it, and also the soft surface when you need it too. I think that's a really interesting and easy way to improve the tool. But now that we've kind of started getting and I've explained how to use this tool with a smaller piece, we're just get back to this area here, and we're gonna just finish it up by grabbing it here. And you can see what I meant by if you don't use that tool, you run the risk of warping the little slots, as I just did right there. So again, just be careful as you're putting it in there. And if you're using a bending tool, you can see how nice and easy everything formed and how flush it is. That's the best part about this. Even this right here, this is part of the bending tool. We can do that and just fix it to make it 90 degrees. Very nice. And now we're gonna work on this little ending detail that caused us a little bit of a problem with our tool. These little thin arms, we're going to be bending down. Let me just make sure I'm bending them down in the right direction. There's the one side formed. Now we're gonna go to the other side, do the same thing. It's just a matter of making sure that everything is 90 and you should be okay. Again, we're just matching up all the little sides here. Getting that little end there completely square is a little bit hard, but once you do it, it actually looks really nice, and that looks really cool too. No warping at all. I think we're ready to go ahead and place this into place. Now, normally I would have waited, but with this one, let's go ahead and just do it. It wasn't completely flat. I had to move a little bit of detail there to get everything in its spot. But now that we have it in its spot, we need to move on to the next little bit. That's part 80. Part 80 is just right here. Part 80 is a little bit funky, but don't worry, it's the same kind of a thing. It might look a little bit difficult, but if we go to each little tiny bit here, it's just about bending those down. So go around here, find those little edges that have a little mark, bend them down. Pretty simple stuff. Find the detail, bend it down. There we go. Nice and formed. Now we're gonna take the same thing here and we're gonna place it into place. Let's do one of these. Same kind of deal. We kind of have to figure out exactly where the tabs are and how much we need to manipulate them to get them into spot. Looks like all of them but this little guy here is currently in spot. You know what? I don't think that those guys are meant to be bent down. So let's go ahead and take that like this. There we go. There we go. I'm actually going to bend these up for right now just to kind of keep them sort of out of the way. Just like that. That. Okay. Go here. Make sure that's really in there. It is, but I want to make sure that's secured. There we go. Excellent. That is all of that detail in place and secured. Now what we need to do though, be careful. I don't want to say this before I go any further. You do have to be a little bit careful here. You don't want to flatten the detail too much. Of course, if you do have all of the pieces bent properly. Ooh, I just scratched that. Dang. Well, there's a little bit of a landing, a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Landing scratches, so that's what that is. But there we go. Nice and formed up, and also 3D. If yours gets a little bit flat, just take your tweezers, put them in here a little bit, give them a little push up, you should be okay. Now we need to add on the other little bits here, which is part 81 and 82. These guys are very similar to what we've done before. It's just a matter of getting these into their proper shape. Let's go ahead and bend this forward. We're gonna do this just like this. Like that. Going to the other side here, do the same thing. Take it, follow that line, boom. And then the half moon, we're actually gonna wait because we're gonna be placing this in front when we put our little head on here. So we're gonna wait on that one and we're gonna grab this little piece here. That actually may not be that one, it might be the next one. So we're gonna take a look here, and if we do put it in the right spot, then I'll go ahead and move on to the next little bit there. And I'll show you what I mean about the neck detail and how it might be a little bit more challenging than you might expect. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. First little bit of detail on there. Now we're gonna put this little box on that I was talking about before. Now, one thing you do wanna make sure that when you form this box is you wanna make sure you get the detail properly formed. You need to make sure that that little box has a little indent and then a little bit of a pull out. And then when you get down to the bottom here with these tabs, you wanna bend them down 90 degrees. The reason why we're gonna do that is it'll make it a lot easier for us to be able to place this onto part 69. Let's go ahead and do that. It's the only problem wearing black gloves and putting these into black holes. You can't see very well. Let me see here. Here, twist. There we go. Get you here, twist. You here. Opposite way. Opposite way. There we go. Wow, that was way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. That little piece there was definitely tricky. But now that we got this in here, what we need to do is we need to add some of the other detail that we've worked on from before. This can be a little bit tricky, especially because of how much detail that we need to actually add on. So let's grab our little piece here, with a little wheel, and that is going to go right here on the back. Now to make your life a little bit easier, again, you can pre-bend these tabs just a little bit. Sometimes that can really make a difference on how easy to get these tabs into place. Pretty good, pretty good. Now we can grab our infamous neck, and this neck might be a little bit difficult to get into place. So just know that if you have to play around a little bit, it's okay. Oh, that is not the right spot. Oh, because I was putting it on backwards, you silly goose. I was like, that's not working. Why? Well, it's because you had the part backwards, you silly goose. The key here, though, will be getting as much of the tab in our tweezers as possible. I can't stress that enough. Oh, man, I really don't like pushing down from the top there, though. I'm going to use the table for a sec here. Okay. That was a good connection there. There we go. The back piece here. Okay, there we go. Not bad. Actually, we didn't do too much bending on terms of cockeyedness there. Actually looks pretty good. Okay, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty solid, I think. We're doing pretty well. We got this nice little head here. We got the little detail going on. I'm pretty proud of where we're at, you know? Okay, now that we got that little headpiece in place, we need to go ahead and put this next little bit here, which it's the same thing we've already kind of done. Now, I accidentally broke the moon off of that other piece there, just a little bit. That happens. And I'll show you how I did it. It's because it's a very small little bit of metal that we're actually dealing with. This here gets bent and goes towards the front like this, okay? And then it gets bent down. I'm gonna show you what I mean by that in a moment after we secure this onto where it needs to go. Cool. There we go. Now, I'm not really liking how this is bending out here, especially at the bottom. Definitely need to make a better connection down here. Originally, if I would have made a better connection down there, I think it would have been a lot less issue. But because I'm having that issue, this might actually affect the overall model, and I might be disappointed. I definitely need to figure that out. Huh. All right, that does look pretty good. I may have to do a little bit more work here to make sure I kind of like the way this neck's going. I liked it before I put on that little bit of detail in the front, but because I had so much of a hard time, it kind of got a little bent out of shape. We can fix everything, of course, but you know, it is nice to have everything nice the first time. Anyway, let's go ahead and place this down for right now, and we're gonna go and we're gonna start working on part 84. We're getting very close to the end of our video. We only have a couple little bits of detail that we need to actually put into place with this, and all of this detail is pretty simple. We're going through here and we're bending all of our edges down, and we're going to match the detail. See, we're not actually making a 90 on this back here, it's slanted. There we go. And as we go here, we're gonna go ahead and place this on, and we're gonna mix it up just a little bit because I know that you guys at home want to see how this is done. So let's go ahead and do this. Making sure, of course, that we get it into the right spot. When there's so many holes, sometimes it's a little easy to mistake which ones you're supposed to place them into, and it gets you a little bit lost. Excellent. I'm gonna take this right here, bend her down. Take this right here, bend her down. Same thing, just matching up all of our detail pieces like this if we can. And then we do that, make life a little bit better. There we go. I like these ones because they can only go on one way. Nice and secure. Moving right along. Next little guy here is 87. Making sure that we're bending this in the right spot. You don't want to accidentally put it on the non-engraved side. That would lose all that really cool copper detail. Open that back up a little bit. Place our tab right in the right spot. Boom. Now we're going to fold this guy down and push it down just a little bit. There we go. Grab the tab, push. Grab the other side here and push. There we go. Now we place this into place. Okay, this one little guy here doesn't want to go in. Maybe a little bit of a wiggle. What's going on here? Why don't you want to go in place, buddy? Is there a little bit of a paint in the way? I feel like you're stuck in a groove. There we go. Turn. Excellent. Looking really good, looking really good. Only 2 more pieces to go here. Whoops, missed that little guy. Again, doing the same thing as before. We're just kind of matching up the edges. If you go and you bend either side first, you get a good idea of how much you need to bend the other pieces. I'm gonna do one of those. Bend this flat. Like this. Okay. Now we're going to grab the either side here. Bend those tabs back. Just like that. Now this guy goes right here, and you might need something to help you hold this and place this in properly. Why am I not able to get these tabs in place today? I am just brutal. Okay, you want to play that game? Okay, we shall play that game. Oh my lord. Listen here. You want to play a game? I play a game. It's called Tab Go and Hold. Listen, you'll like it there. Trust me. Ah, yeah. That's right. We got her in there. That was a struggle. I don't know why I'm struggling so much in this build trying to get some of these tabs in, especially with these last couple of stages. I thought this was going to be a quick little couple of pieces, but I think every time I think that, I always get a little bit messed up. So in the future, I'm going to start saying to myself, this is going to be a very difficult piece. I need to have a ton of time on my hands to do it. And then that way, when I go do it and it takes a couple of seconds, I'm like, oh, well, that's a nice surprise. As opposed to being like, dang, that took forever. Just making sure that I got the best connection possible here. There we go. I did a little twist and bend there. We talked about that in some of my other videos, especially in some of the earlier parts here. I've been finding that with this build in particular, that the twist is just kind of not enough to get the detail properly secured. So what I've been doing is I've been twisting and then bending the tabs over, and I've been having a lot more success in getting the pieces to be properly secured. There we go. Going all the way around here. Now we're going to take this guy. I'm having a bit of a hard time with this. Going right to that edge. Okay. Cool. Now that we got that. Yep, it goes like that. So don't bend it over like I did. That's not what you're supposed to do. As we just learned. Secure this guy right here. We're gonna go left here, and this one we're gonna go right. Actually, we went right. That's right. There we go. And we are all nice and secured. And there we go. We've completed parts 77 through 88. And I have to admit, that was actually quite the ring of fire there, getting all these guys into place. And so far, this build has been very detail-oriented. But Groovers, I hope you really enjoyed your time with me. I know I had a really good time building with you, and if this video helped you, do me a favor and press that like button. And if you're new here, hit subscribe as well, as we got all kinds of really cool builds coming out, and having you here with me really does make a difference. Until next time, Groovers, keep building.